Welcome to the Heart Rate Variability Podcast. Each week we talk about heart rate variability and how it can be used to improve your overall health and wellness. Please consider the information in this podcast for your informational use and not medical advice. Please see your medical provider to apply any of the strategies outlined in this episode. Heart Rate Variability Podcast is a production of Optimal LLC and Optimal HRV. Check us out at optimalhrv.com. Please enjoy the show. Welcome to the Heart Rate Variability Podcast. I'm Matt Bennett here really quick with you today to introduce Chapter 5 in our book, The Heartbeat of Business. If you're new to the podcast, please, I highly encourage you, go back to episode 1 of this series. We are, through the last several months since the first of the year, publishing the audiobook version of chapter by chapter, and then Dave, Ina, and I are getting together to discuss that. This chapter, got to give Ina all the credit in the world on her work, her career work on integrating biofeedback, mindfulness, self-compassion into really helping both high performers, people who might be struggling with burnout, as a way to recover, bring our best selves into our life, whichever end of that that you're working on. So we also talk in this chapter about healthy breathing, a little bit of Dave's work on this. Always good to know when you're not breathing right. So for a lot of you, this will be a game-changing chapter personally. For leaders out there, really starting to think about how we provide HRV tracking and now biofeedback and mindfulness as a job resource. If you can provide a tool that helps to regulate the nervous system and strengthen that vagal brake, why wouldn't you? Especially if you can do it at a very affordable price. So we talked up to this point a lot of parts about tracking heart rate variability. Now you can give this simple, inexpensive tool to help improve the functioning of the autonomic nervous system, think about this, the ability to connect with other people socially, emotional regulation, cognitive engagement and focus, and medical health as well. Just think about the business benefits to the bottom line. If you got a healthier workforce that's not sick all the time, if you can connect with each teammates as well as clients in a more effective way, if you got people who are emotionally regulated at work and that can cognitively focus, problem solve, goal set in the best way possible. So again, game changer on both sides of this. And with that, I will shut up and let you listen to Chapter 5. We'll be back next week where we'll basically do an interview of Ina around this topic. Thanks so much for
Chapter 5, HRV Biofeedback and Mindfulness. Imagine if a business could offer a benefit that improved people's physical and mental health, HRV, productivity, immune functioning, and problem-solving ability while reducing distress, burnout, absenteeism, and healthcare costs. This benefit could also enhance team cohesion and relationships through the business, contributing to an overall healthier organizational culture. HRV biofeedback and mindfulness provides leaders and businesses with a decisive competitive advantage if they implement it as a strategic job resource. Up to this point, the focus has been on the benefits of implementing HRV to track health and wellness. In this chapter, we shift focus to using HRV biofeedback and mindfulness to improve resiliency and performance. Taking a morning HRV reading helps everyone start the day focusing on their health and stress levels. Practicing HRV biofeedback and mindfulness provides a research-based best practice to regulate distress, build resiliency, and maximize performance. Giving people access to HRV biofeedback and mindfulness training provides a crucial job resource. Job resources are the physical, social, emotional, or organizational aspects of the job that may do any of the following: reduce job demands and the associated physiological and psychological costs, be functional in achieving work goals, stimulate personal growth and development. Research indicates that HRV biofeedback and mindfulness address all three aspects of job resources. With a small investment in an HRV app, leaders provide a powerful tool that promotes cognitive, medical, mental, and social health. A quick note. At the time of publication, the Optimal HRV app is the only app on the market that we are aware of with the components of HRV biofeedback and mindfulness combined with a dashboard for business leaders. In this chapter, we will speak specifically about the functions of the Optimal HRV app that support this science. Resonance frequency. The autonomic nervous system operates outside of conscious control. The heart beats and the lungs take in air without the need for conscious attention. Built-in unconscious processes work to maintain homeostasis by adjusting bodily functions like heart rate, breathing, and blood pressure. The beauty of the autonomic nervous system lies in the fact that while people do not need to do anything at all for it to function, there is quite a bit they can do to help it perform at its best, especially during times of stress. People possess one powerful tool to regulate their physiology and their stress response. This same tool allows people to strengthen the parts of their nervous system that promote resilience, emotional regulation, and cognitive capacity. This powerful tool is the breath. Breathing is the most direct way to increase HRV and recover from short-term distress. The respiratory and cardiovascular systems work synchronously to maintain homeostasis through the parasympathetic nervous system. As mentioned earlier, on each inhalation, the parasympathetic nervous system takes its foot off the vagal brake and allows the heart rate to go up. On each exhalation, the vagal brake comes back on and the heart rate slows down. This synchronicity between the heart rate and the breath is called respiratory sinus arrhythmia, or RSA. RSA is one of the primary sources of HRV. When the heart rate and the breath are the most in sync, HRV is at its highest. In physics, this kind of reciprocal relationship between breathing and heart rate is called resonance. Resonance is the property of a system where two oscillating or alternating components are in interplay with each other. Breathing stimulates heart rate in an interplay feedback relationship. The more in sync the breath is with the heart rate, the greater the oscillations of the heart rate, resulting in higher HRV. The easiest way to think about it is by comparing this system to pushing a child on a swing. There are lots of different ways to push that swing. Someone could push it infrequently and with a lot of force. The swing would go up high but not smoothly, and it would gradually decrease its oscillations. The child in this scenario would not be pleased. Someone could also push the swing with short, frequent bursts. The swing would go up a bit and come down right away, never going up high. Again, the child would not be pleased. Another approach is to push the swing in a measured, regular way. This approach allows the swing to go up as much as possible and come down as much as possible. In this scenario, one would find a rate of pushing the swing that would maximize the child's delight. The breath acts to stimulate the heart rate in the same way as the person pushing the swing. It is possible to determine an ideal breathing rate that would stimulate the heart rate to produce maximum oscillations. The goal is for the heart rate to increase as much as possible on the inhalation, then come down as much as possible on the exhalation. The ideal breathing rate that accomplishes this goal is called resonance frequency breathing rate. While people do not possess much direct conscious control over their heart rate, they can consciously regulate their breath. Therefore, resonance frequency breathing is a powerful tool to increase heart rate variability, increase resiliency, improve performance, and effectively manage allostatic load. HRV biofeedback uses resonance frequency breathing to improve people's health and performance. Biofeedback is a powerful mind-body tool that teaches people to develop greater awareness and influence their physiological and mental functions by using signals from their bodies. HRV biofeedback provides real-time feedback on how adjusting breathing rates improves HRV. Apps like the Optimal HRV app walk users through a short process to determine their resonance frequency breathing rate. People then use resonance frequency breathing to help improve their HRV through HRV biofeedback and mindfulness training. Each person has their own resonance frequency breathing rate, which, for adults, is somewhere between 4 and 7 breaths per minute. Carbon dioxide and overbreathing. Resonance frequency breathing strengthens the vagal brake and regulates the stress response. The breath is an amazing tool to help build cognitive, medical, mental, and social health. However, the primary function of the respiratory system is to provide optimal levels of oxygen to the brain, organs, and tissues in the body. As many as 60% of people experience disordered breathing episodes. Disordered breathing causes distressing symptoms that impact health and performance. Unfortunately, most people experience these symptoms without realizing the cause is related to their breathing. For many people, attempts to use their breath to calm down or relax backfire, making them feel worse rather than better. The primary reason behind this problem is a prevalent misconception about breathing. The fallacy has to do with oxygen and carbon dioxide. Most people believe that to relax or calm down, they need to get more oxygen. They also believe that carbon dioxide is toxic and needs to be cleansed or eliminated from the body. Neither one of these statements are true. Oxygen is needed for cells to derive energy. The more strenuous the task, the more oxygen someone needs for energy. The air that is inhaled contains about 21% oxygen. Exhaled air contains about 16% oxygen. At rest, people only use about a quarter of their oxygen and do not need any extra oxygen. The idea that we need more oxygen to relax or calm down is simply incorrect. It is important to note that the same principles apply at any altitude. At higher altitudes, the atmospheric pressure is lower, and therefore the oxygen molecules are spread further apart. The air at higher altitudes still contains 21% oxygen, but because the molecules are further apart, there is less oxygen in each breath. If changing altitudes, practicing low and slow breathing, as described later in this chapter, at resonance frequency breathing rate will help optimize oxygen levels. If a person suffers from heart or lung disease, they may not efficiently extract oxygen from the air. As a result, they may have lower oxygen levels in the blood. The same breathing principles apply, but it may be wise to use a pulse oximeter to monitor oxygen levels during breathing training. The second misconception about breathing is that carbon dioxide is toxic and harmful, and we must get rid of it. In fact, carbon dioxide is vital to the distribution of oxygen. People need to retain about 85% of the carbon dioxide they produce to ensure oxygen gets to where it needs to go. Carbon dioxide is a byproduct of metabolism. As cells use up oxygen for energy, they produce carbon dioxide and water. The carbon dioxide then enters the bloodstream to regulate our pH, which reflects the acid-base balance in the body. Oxygen distribution depends on the pH balance. As activity levels increase, the body uses more oxygen and produces more carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide enters the blood as carbonic acid, making the pH level more acidic. When activity levels decrease, carbon dioxide production also decreases, lowering acidity. Hemoglobin, the part of the red blood cells that transports oxygen and other gases throughout the body, is sensitive to pH changes. Higher activity increases acidity of the blood, signaling the need to release more oxygen. Without sufficient carbon dioxide, hemoglobin releases less oxygen. Carbon dioxide is crucial for delivering oxygen to places in the body in need of energy. When someone takes a deep breath to relax, they take in more oxygen even though the physiological need for oxygen has not increased. A deep inhale is often followed by a too short exhale, causing them to breathe out too much carbon dioxide too quickly. This habit of breathing out too much carbon dioxide is called overbreathing. As less carbon dioxide enters the blood, acidity levels drop, and hemoglobin misinterprets that as a decrease in activity level and releases less oxygen. Because the activity level has not decreased, the oxygen demand has not changed either, but now less oxygen is available. Ironically, an attempt to get more oxygen with deeper breaths creates an oxygen-deprived state. This state of oxygen deprivation results in lightheadedness, dizziness, shortness of breath, faster heartbeat, gastrointestinal distress, numb or tingly fingers and toes, and muscle tension. It also impacts the amount of oxygen that the brain receives, resulting in problems with focus, concentration, learning, decision-making, and problem-solving. Overbreathing creates states that prevent people from performing at their best. It also makes it more challenging to regulate emotions, resulting in anxiety, agitation, and nervousness. Overbreathing may cause or exacerbate a whole host of problems, such as asthma, chronic pain, heart problems, insomnia, irritable bowel syndrome, other digestive problems, and stomach discomfort. Unfortunately, there is a complementary relationship between distress and overbreathing. As someone's cup starts to fill up with distress, the sympathetic activation speeds up the breathing rate, increasing the sympathetic response further. Overbreathing itself brings on feelings of anxiety, which add to the allostatic load already in someone's cup. In addition, attempts to relax or calm down by taking big, deep breaths exacerbate overbreathing and make symptoms worse. The key to overcoming and preventing overbreathing is to learn healthy breathing skills. Healthy breathing. Everyone knows how to breathe, right? How can anyone screw up something so natural and unconscious? Healthy breathing is crucial to performance and health, yet many people breathe in ways that negatively impact their cognitive, medical, mental, and social health. One of the most important aspects of healthy breathing is nasal breathing. Nasal breathing warms, humidifies, and filters the air coming into the lungs, benefits lost with mouth breathing. Cold, dry, and unfiltered air coming through the mouth may result in overbreathing, sleep disruptions, inflammation, ear infections, illnesses, increased allergy and asthma symptoms, and decreased HRV. Every breath taken through the nose comes with a natural shot of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide has an array of health benefits. These include decreased blood pressure, decreased heart rate, decreased breathing rate, a more open airway, better gas exchange, increased ventral vagal activity, increased immunity, and of course, an increased HRV. Spinal posture is also critical to healthy breathing. It is important to sit or stand straight with one's weight balanced evenly on both sides. Straight posture gives the diaphragm plenty of room to move and fill the lungs. Next, learn healthy breathing skills through practicing low and slow breathing. Begin by shifting the breath down to the belly and slowing down the breathing rate. Breathe in gently through the nose into the abdomen. Allow the abdominal muscles to expand on the in-breath and contract on the out-breath. It helps to imagine a balloon in the belly. On the breath in, gently inflate the balloon. On the breath out, gently let the air out of the balloon through the nose or pursed lips, slowly and fully, as if blowing out a candle. There is no need for a large or a particularly deep breath. Shifting the breath into the abdomen will naturally deepen the breath and provide the optimal amount of oxygen. A new practice will always require a conscious decision to change, as well as cognitive effort and patience. However, there should not be a physical effort when breathing. In other words, don't pull the air in and push the air out. Just allow the air to come in and out of the lungs. Initially, practice low and slow breathing for about 5 minutes each day, just noticing the sensations of your breath coming in and out of the nose. Remember that breathing practice may not always feel relaxing. If it is difficult to relax, let go of the intention to relax and bring the focus to the process of breathing itself. As this breathing practice feels more familiar and more comfortable, increase practice time and combine it with HRV biofeedback and mindfulness practice as discussed in the following sections. Low and slow breathing combined with HRV biofeedback and mindfulness trains people to avoid overbreathing, as many people learn to breathe correctly for the first time. Training and the resulting changes in breathing create a match between metabolic needs, levels of carbon dioxide production, and the size and rate of the breath. Establishing an HRV mindfulness and biofeedback practice. There are nearly as many definitions of mindfulness as ways to practice it. All these definitions include some version of present focus, acceptance of the moment, and non-judgment. Biofeedback involves providing people insight into how their breathing changes their physiology and HRV. Optimal HRV allows people to integrate biofeedback into their mindfulness practice. We will discuss these benefits later in this chapter. Let's compare mindfulness to free throws in basketball to help understand mindfulness as both a practice and skill. As anyone who has played basketball knows, a player spends a ton of time at the free throw line. Basketball players might shoot 100 free throws in practice for every one taken in a game. Free throws are not always the most exciting part of basketball, but with the game on the line, the player needs the practice to manage nerves and knock down the free throws when it counts. Over time, the practice builds self-confidence and a new skill set. Through deliberate practice, the player hones the precision of their free throws, increasing their value to the team and their performance on the court. Eventually, they become a clutch player who the team wants on the line with the game in the balance. Mindfulness practice is a lot like practicing free throws. People should set aside 15 to 20 minutes a day for mindfulness practice. During this practice, they work to train the mind's ability to enter a focused state, recognize when focus has been disrupted, and return to the calm, focused state. The good news for leaders is that apps like Optimal HRV will help people start a mindfulness practice even if they have never practiced before downloading the app. While there are numerous mindfulness apps in the marketplace, we encourage leaders to recommend apps that provide HRV biofeedback with a mindfulness activity. Apps like Optimal HRV help people view how mindfulness practice improves HRV and track improvements to their baseline over time. Beginner meditators should start with a concentration practice following a breathing pacer and a guided self-focused awareness meditation session. The pacer will help them integrate resonance frequency breathing, maximizing the positive benefits of their new practice. Following the guided meditation will assist them in staying focused and help them build new skills as their practice develops over time. Once the mind gets skilled at focused awareness, the next challenge is an open awareness practice. These practices bring attention to what predominates in the mind moment to moment. Guided open awareness meditations help the person become aware of sights, sounds, smells, thoughts, feelings, and physiological sensations as they occur without holding on to them. Open awareness practice hones people's ability to focus on what is happening in the present moment and to disengage from unhelpful mind chatter and other distractions. The mindfulness module in the Optimal HRV app provides people with a wide selection of guided meditation practices, from concentration to open awareness practices tailored to various needs. The daily use of the app as a job resource is akin to practicing free throws, training the mind for peak performance when it matters most. Like practicing free throws, few people get overly excited about their daily mindful meditation practice. There are always emails, movies, and a range of other activities that seem more enjoyable or essential. But as everyone who has stuck with a practice will likely agree, they rarely regret the time spent after completing their daily practice due to the feelings of calm and focus they achieve and the long-term benefit they gain. Flair. The daily mindfulness practice described in the previous section will strengthen the mind's ability to regulate emotions and bring focus and concentration to work. What about times of high distress when sitting down for a 20-minute practice is not a realistic solution? Under distress, like shooting free throws in a close game, mindfulness skills will help calm the sympathetic response and maintain high levels of cognitive functioning and emotional regulation. One of the co-authors of this audiobook, Dr. Ina Kazan, developed a 5-step approach that guides people through a series of mindfulness-based skills most helpful in navigating challenges and stressful situations. Knowing about mindfulness skills is different from using them during a challenge. As someone's cup fills up, a concrete and structured approach to finding a helpful response is what is most needed. For this reason, Dr. Kazan uses the acronym FLAIR to provide a structured set of skills that works in any difficult or stressful situation. FLAIR stands for Feel, Label, Allow, Respond, and Expand Awareness. FLAIR comprises a set of skills scientifically shown to manage different aspects of a stressful situation. It works to increase the ability to regulate emotions, channel inner resources most efficiently, and find the most helpful response without getting stuck. The mindfulness module in the Optimal HRV app provides a guide to FLAIR that you can easily use in a challenging moment. Practicing FLAIR is, again, a lot like practicing free throws. Practice under neutral or only mildly stressful conditions will strengthen the ability of the brain to turn to FLAIR almost automatically in future, more challenging situations. Let's now review each step in FLAIR. Feel. Feel is a sensory, nonverbal step. It is the process of becoming aware of difficult feelings, thoughts, or sensations. The goal here is awareness of the sensations themselves before automatic evaluations or judgments. The feel skill helps the person utilize the power of mindful observation and pause long enough to distinguish what is and is not under one's control. Feel is one of the key benefits of mindfulness in the workplace. Staying in the window of tolerance while experiencing distress requires the realization that cortisol threatens to overwhelm the capacity of the cup. Do not assume that people already possess the feel skill. This step is necessary for any further action in managing a stressful situation. The nervous system evolved for action, not reflection. A daily mindfulness practice will help strengthen the ability of the prefrontal cortex to bring rising distress levels into consciousness before automatic amygdala-driven reactions take over. Label. Label names the feelings, thoughts, or sensations brought into awareness in the feel step. Labeling allows one to turn toward distressing thoughts and emotions with curiosity, an essential part of any mindfulness practice. Labeling the emotional experience in that moment shifts energy from the sympathetic or dorsal vagal to the ventral vagal and from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. Brain imaging studies show that the process of assigning a short, descriptive, non-judgmental label to a distressful experience reduces the activation of the amygdala and activates the parts of the prefrontal cortex responsible for emotional regulation and choice of action. This shift allows the person to make conscious choices in response to the situation instead of the automatic fight, flight, or freeze response. The relatively simple act of assigning a label to the difficult experience allows one to move away from the unhelpful, automatic, amygdala-driven reaction and toward a more thoughtful, chosen response. Allow. Allow means giving up the struggle with thoughts and emotions and instead allowing them to be as they are after labeling them. Most people's immediate automatic response to first noticing difficult emotions, such as fear, anger, and shame, is to try to make those feelings go away or to get them under control. However, research shows that actually controlling thoughts and feelings is impossible. The more someone tries to stop thinking or feeling something, the stronger that thought or emotion grows. Research also shows that the futile efforts to control uncontrollable thoughts and emotions exhaust the glucose stores available to fuel the brain, drastically reducing cognitive capacity and the resources necessary to choose a strategic response to the situation. Respond. By the time someone gets to the respond step, their brain is primed for choosing a helpful response and for devoting all of its available resources toward implementing it. The intensity of the original state of distress has likely decreased. Emotionally regulated, the person has the cognitive capacity to think through which action is in their best interest at that moment. In this step, most responses will depend on the specific situation at hand. However, doing some low and slow breathing at resonance frequency rates is always a good idea in this stage. Many leaders expect people to show up in the respond step and stay there on the ready throughout the workday. This assumption goes against the science of mindfulness and distress. Providing the job resource of mindfulness and biofeedback will help the workforce develop and maintain states and traits to support effective decision-making and high performance. Expand awareness. Expanding awareness is necessary to widen the narrow focus created by the stress response. When people's cups fill and allostatic load increases, attention and focus become narrowed to short-term solutions in an attempt to eliminate the stress. During the fight or flight sympathetic response, this narrowing of focus helps find the best action for survival. If a car swerves into someone's lane on the highway, the narrowing of focus helps identify the single best action that helps avoid the dangerous accident. The same response that helps direct action in flight or fight situations is ineffective when dealing with the complexity of the modern workplace. Practically speaking, expanding awareness involves paying attention to the variables in the environment beyond the immediate source of distress. Start with attention to external stimuli, such as the sky overhead, the people around, or the floor underneath the feet. Then bring the focus to internal stimuli, such as the breath and heartbeat. Expanding awareness further potentiates emotional regulation and allows people to access their creativity and cognitive flexibility. FLAIR provides everyone in the business world with a shared language concerning distress and emotional regulation. The true power of the approach comes when leaders integrate FLAIR language into the daily communication and culture of the organization. FLAIR provides leaders with a methodology to ensure that logic and not emotions guide strategic decision-making. HRV biofeedback. At its core, HRV biofeedback training guides the person in learning to balance their autonomic nervous system in their daily lives. HRV biofeedback training begins with resonance frequency breathing determination and practice. Consistent biofeedback-guided practice typically results in increased HRV at baseline over time. This improvement translates into a change in the physiological and emotional response during challenging times, enabling the person to respond to the challenge in the most optimal way and then to quickly return to homeostasis once the challenge is over. Most of those who practice HRV biofeedback regularly will find that in the moment of challenge, a few low and slow breaths at their resonance frequency provide an effective reminder for better focus and self-regulation. As part of their wellness plans, people should choose a practice time that will work for them most days of the week. With all the benefits of mindful HRV biofeedback practice, the leader needs to find the time and space to train during work hours. Allowing time to train at work will help leaders demonstrate their dedication to workforce wellness and help gather HRV data during the workday. The goal is to practice resonance frequency breathing for 20 minutes each day. Research shows that 20 minutes of daily training is necessary to derive the benefits of HRV practice. However, finding 20 minutes in a busy workday can be surprisingly challenging. To make the transition to regular practice easier, start with 5 minutes each day for a week. Then go up to 10 minutes a day for a week. Next, increase to 15 minutes a day for another week, and finally get to the 20-minute goal. When hearing about resonance frequency breathing rate, many people worry that they will need to breathe that slowly all the time. That is not the case at all. Resonance frequency breathing is reserved for training times and for challenging occasions when taking a few breaths helps to remind the nervous system to regulate itself. Think of breathing training in the same way as strength training in the gym. The person might lift weights 3 times a week for an hour to increase muscle strength, but would not drag dumbbells or kettlebells around the rest of the week. Resonance frequency breathing is also a workout, only for the nervous system. As long as someone practices 20 minutes a day, they will strengthen their autonomic nervous system's ability to regulate itself and do not need to keep breathing at resonance frequency all the time to maintain and continue making gains. With continued practice, a better ability to self-regulate will remain with them at all times. HRV biofeedback and mindfulness training give the nervous system the strength to self-regulate. Once resonance frequency breathing feels comfortable and familiar under neutral conditions, please encourage people to use it before or during challenging situations to improve self-regulation at that moment. A few minutes of training before a difficult meeting or crucial presentation regulates distress and improves performance. In combination with the skills described in other chapters of this audiobook, HRV biofeedback training under challenging situations allows the workforce to navigate those situations with greater ease and success.